I'll turn to Senator Bennet next.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. As we were walking in here this morning, there was I think a federal court ruling someplace delaying the firings of the Forest Service employees that we're talking about at least for 45 days. That's I suppose a shred of comfort, but that is going to also add its own levels of uncertainty. And I wanted to ask Frank Bem and the Commissioner if you could tell us a little bit specifically how these staffing shortages, the hiring freezes, the recent round of fires are going to affect fire management on the landscape today. What do we need to worry about in terms of just this coming summer and the work that has to be taken to prepare us for that and to fight the fires that are coming? And Frank, when you talk about this, could you talk a little bit about the importance of red cards and what that means for people as well?
Yes, Senator, thank you. And as I mentioned in my testimony, about 75% of those who were removed, the probationary employees that were removed, have fire qualifications. They're given on a card that's red. That's why it's called red card. You have a red card that lists your qualifications you're trained to do. Most of those folks that were eliminated or dismissed during their probationary period are field-going forestry technicians that typically have some red card qualifications, often to do on-the-ground firefighting, not just support. We know primary firefighters with that in their position description were not removed, but collateral duty firefighters, which is a backbone of the fire suppression effort, as well as prescribed fire, were removed. So those are our red card employees. That's going to be a massive impact on the ability of the fire, I'm going to use the broader fire service, which is all the federal agencies, state agencies, and others, to do fire suppression work this year. It's going to have a pretty big impact. Thank you.
Commissioner Howe.
Thank you for the question, Senator. I think, interestingly, the perspective I bring is someone who actually has the ability to day in and day out walk into the district ranger's office at the Forest Service or the BLM or the Park Service. And the big concern that we see in Gunnison County currently is that there are many already approved projects. So these are timber sales, these are habitat restoration projects, this is on-the-ground trail work that is mitigating fire danger that's approved for this upcoming year, and they don't have the staff on the ground to do these projects. And I'd like to maybe step back to a point that you made in your introductory comments. It's the partnerships and communities that make a difference. So for a good example, our trail crews are funded through state funds, through the Colorado Parks and Wildlife OHV funds, and that money comes to the Forest Service and allows them to do projects which include vegetation management. They cannot hire that trail crew even though the funding comes from a source other than the federal government. I'm hearing that from the foresters on our district, they will not have the forestry technicians to go out and mark the sales that have already approved, that have been through a NEPA process and are part of these larger projects that I spoke of in my opening comments. We have a lot of veterans that work on the forest in Gunnison County. A lot of these veterans have lost their jobs, and one thing that I'm really happy about to see in Colorado is how many veterans come to Colorado, connect to outdoor spaces, and the work that they do, the soul-satisfying work they do is connected to public lands. Some of them have lost their jobs as well. And so when I look at what we have on slate for just this coming summer, I have concerns that now we are going to start backlogging already a place where we are struggling to keep up due to the lack of resources before the firings. And I'd make one last comment that the deferred resignations, though not hugely impactful right in the Gunnison field office, but I think of the neighboring White River National Forest in the route, we had 2 folks that retired, 3 folks that retired who were senior level that when Type 1 teams need to be deployed for fires and things of that nature, they are the leadership that runs the team. And I would say to Frank's comments about red card members, a lot of the folks that have been eliminated recently are red card holders, and they are part of the firefighting process in our community.
So I would just say to the chairman and to the chairman, the Secretary of Agriculture, who's from Texas, has said that she doesn't think that they've laid off or fired any firefighting personnel. You've heard today that's actually not the case, that Frank Bem described some of the people that have been laid off as the backbone of our firefighting efforts. And I think I would speak for everybody if I can, for once, for Colorado, who's a Democrat or a Republican, we got to get these people back on the ground. We don't have 45 days to do the planning that's required. This is an emergency that we're facing today, and we would love your help in trying to at least pause this so that we can get to the other side of it. And by the way, I'll stop here. That does nothing to deal with the underlying problems that have existed in our western states for years in terms of paying firefighters what they're due to begin with. And we've got to find a way to work together to solve that problem as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Bennett.